everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with the Consultant. My name is Stephanie Essex, and I'm a social emotional consultant at the Florida Center for Early Childhood. And today I'm bringing you parenting tips and tricks and the time it takes to have a cup of coffee. So, today I wanted to talk to you about the idea of the whole child. So this is a concept that was thought up by Karen Purvis, and I love this idea, and I've been talking to a lot of teachers and parents and colleagues about this important concept. So really it's three pieces to the child. So it's looking at the child's physical health and well-being. It's looking at the child's emotional health and well-being, and it's also looking at the child's sensory needs. So three different pieces of the child that are all very important, and they all interact with each other, and they can all cause behavioral problems. They can cause a lot of dysregulation in children, and what we see more meltdowns and temper tantrums if things aren't quite right in one of these areas or all of these areas. And so a lot of times we identify with the emotional well-being, or we'll look at, the physical health, but I also think that the sensory piece is really important. So I did want to talk about that as well. So just a little bit about each of the pieces. Physical health, which seems pretty obvious, but just to talk a little bit about it, that's really, how is my child feeling physically? Are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Are they feeling sick or tired? All those things affect emotional regulation. And, if your child is not sleeping well, or maybe they're not eating regularly enough, that can cause a lot of, behavioral incidences, or, where we're crying, or maybe they even get to the point where they're falling asleep a lot during the day at school. So maybe they're getting into trouble at school, so there's a lot of things that can go along with that. Another piece is that emotional well-being, and that's of course extremely important. So how's my child feeling emotionally? Has there been anything that's happened traumatically that could have affected them? Had there been any major changes in their life, that can cause difficulties with being able to regulate? And I think another really important one is, taking into account that kids are working really hard all day long. They're really trying to hold it together when they're at school, or even at home doing school, to follow the rules, to listen, to behave appropriately. And so a lot of times when they come home, they can't hold it together anymore, and they need to have their emotional cup filled. And I think just recognizing that this isn't just a behavior to have a behavior, that there really is a need for love and affection and connection. And, that could be a hug, or, maybe some simple play time, or maybe some rest time. So all very important to help the child's emotional well-being. And then the last piece is the sensory piece, which is also very important. And when we look at the sensory piece, some kids, integrating sensory is really difficult. So they have a hard time processing maybe loud noises, or sometimes lights can really affect kids. It can be bright, that can be dysregulating. Some kids need to move their bodies more. There's a lot of things that kids are doing in order to process sensory. So I don't want to get too much into that, because that is a whole huge topic, but just to understand that, there are ways to help the child when they're having big behaviors that might be centered around sensory processing, and acknowledging that that might be one of the difficulties that is causing, behavioral incidences or meltdowns. It could just be, man, this environment's really loud, so now I'm screaming and crying because I don't know what to do to help myself. And so maybe that's putting headphones on, or some earmuffs to help that fit that noise level and to make them feel more safe, or if the lights are bright, how can we maybe change the environment to help the child feel a little bit better. So I think it's important to talk about each of the things and just to like be thinking, okay, my child's having a really hard time right now. I'm seeing some crying and screaming, or maybe, they seem like they're depressed. So what's going on for the child? And not just, hey, you're acting out to act out, but maybe we're hungry, or maybe it's too bright in the room and we're having a hard time, or maybe our cup is empty and we need a hug. So I just love the fact that I get to share these things with you. We really utilize this idea of the whole child at the Starfish Academy, and we're always trying to see the child and see all the different pieces and try to determine what might be causing certain feelings and certain maybe behavioral meltdowns, so that we can help, because we want our children to be happy, healthy, and just be able to go on and play and be a kid. So I'm glad I got to share this topic with you. And anytime you have any questions or concerns, you can always email me or brightwill me or call me. And I would love to talk more about all of this. So I will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.